Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all could be with us. Also tuning into our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Well, as you guys know, especially here in the South, school is in full swing right now. So it's that time of year where we're not only thinking about making sure the kids have what they need, but also making sure they have a safe, clean, and healthy way to be able to get to school. In my area here in Mississippi, a lot of them are riding the bus, so this next segment should definitely be a benefit to you. We're excited to welcome Emily Calandrelli to our program today. You guys know her as an Emmy-nominated host of Emily's WonderLab on Netflix. She's also an MIT engineer, and she's teamed up with Energy for Everyone to promote a sustainable alternative for powering school buses. We're going to talk to you guys about that and where you can get more information. Emily, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So this is such an important topic. We're going to get into this when it comes to, of course, safety in school buses. But for our audience out there, I mean, you have such a passion, as I mentioned, for science because you are an MIT engineer. What has it been like for you, though, to be able to share this with kids through your popular Netflix show?
Oh, my gosh, it's been so great. So I've always been really excited about sharing science with kids. Even throughout my college career, I would go back into the elementary school classroom, the middle school classroom, and talk to those kids about the really cool engineering stuff that I was learning in my engineering classes in college and in grad school. And so for me to be able to do this on such a larger stage, like my own science Netflix show, it's an absolute dream.
We're going to definitely let our audience know they can stay connected with you, Emily. So let's talk about the science when it comes to school bus emissions. What does the science tell us about it?
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people listening are very similar to me in that we went to school on this diesel bus, this diesel school bus. I still remember the smell of that diesel bus exhaust, and I still remember the black smoke that would come out of the tailpipe. And in that black smoke, in that thick black smoke, there would be harmful emissions that are bad for the environment, and they're bad for kids' lungs, and they're no good. And what's sad is that there's still so many diesel buses running around the country right now. But today there are better alternatives. There are better, cleaner alternatives like propane school buses, where you just have a marginally higher cost than diesel, but you drastically reduce those emissions coming out of the tailpipe. Actually, those nitrous oxide emissions that come out, you drastically reduce them by 96% with propane school buses over diesel.
Wow, that is a big difference. So since we're talking about comparing then, Emily, let's talk about the comparison between propane and electric buses. What have we found there?
Yeah, great question. Because a lot of times when we think, okay, let's get a clean vehicle, we think let's buy an electric vehicle. And electric vehicles are great. I drive an electric vehicle. Electric school buses exist. They're also great. You don't have those same types of emissions. But the thing to consider with electric is that they're expensive. You can get 3 propane school buses for the price of 1 electric school bus. And what that means is because they're so expensive, oftentimes only wealthier communities can afford to upgrade their entire school bus fleet with electric vehicles. And this is the part that I care about the most, because I don't think you should have to be from a wealthy school district, from a rich school district to be able to afford to breathe clean air. Because with propane school buses, they're only slightly more expensive than diesel, but you get a drastic reduction in emissions, right? So you have a very similar benefit to electric, but you don't have that cost associated with it.
Love that. And again, because, the school buses are such an important part in helping kids get to school, especially for those who, don't have another ride to school. How does school buses impact the environment, Emily? I think this is an interesting thing for our audience to think about because we see them all over the place this time of year, right? So how do they actually impact the environment?
Yeah, so we talked about the stuff coming out of the tailpipe. That's the stuff that impacts the immediate air around you, that impacts the air that you breathe, the air that your kids breathe. And you want that air to be safe and clean and healthy for your kids, of course. And it also impacts the environment, which is why the Environmental Protection Agency really cares about this issue. In fact, this is something good to know. The Environmental Protection Agency has something called the Clean School Bus Program, which is a $5 billion program. They're offering $5 billion worth of grants over the next 5 years to school districts who want to help pay to upgrade their aging diesel fleet to get cleaner vehicles for their community. So you can learn more about how to get somebody else to pay for these cleaner vehicles. You can learn more about propane school buses at betterourbuses.com.
Love that. Last thing I want to ask you, Emily, and again, I really appreciate the time and the work that you're doing, not only, of course, with your show, but also, and as I mentioned, with your teaming up with Energy for Everyone. What else should we know about school bus safety this time of year?
Yeah, and what's really good to know is that these propane school buses have been in operation for decades. They're an extremely safe ride to school, but they make the world even safer by cleaning the air around them, by emitting fewer emissions, cleaner air for our kids, cleaner air for our community, and that's something I think we can all get behind.
All right. Emily Calandrelli, again, everyone has been our guest. You guys know her as the Emmy-nominated host of Emily's WonderLab on Netflix, also an MIT engineer, helping you guys to see, of course, the benefits of clean school bus rides. And it's such an important topic. As you heard the website that Emily gave out, it's betterourbuses.com. Again, that's betterourbuses.com. We'll be linking that up for our audience, both on our Facebook page for the radio station, but also social media. Emily, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, glad to do it. And we thank you, our audience, for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.